Welcome back to Dick Morris Democracy. You know, the internet is really at the intersection of law and technology and free speech. And to help us unravel that, we have Zach Vorhies on, who is the author of a book, Google Leaks, a whistleblower's expose of big tech censorship. Welcome. I'm glad you survived the experience of writing it. We'll see if they knock you off when you publish it in about a month.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, okay. It's all right. I used to work for the Clintons. People are always warning me about that, too.
Yeah, censorship is really bad. And luckily, Amazon is not as bad as Google or Facebook or Twitter, but it seems that it's
Right.
getting worse every single day.
Well, you told me a harrowing story when we spoke earlier about how this Section 230 came to be. And Section 230, as we said in the A block, is a law that gives the tech companies immunity from lawsuits from citizens and third parties. And they're using it to stop efforts to force them to become fair and bipartisan and objective. But tell me how Section 230 came about. How did that come to pass?
Yeah, so Section 230 was inputted into the Communications Decency Act in 1996. And what it is that it's a liability shield and grants these big tech companies immunity from lawsuits for the content that they link to as long as they act as a platform that doesn't engage in political censorship. As long as they have this special carve out as a platform, then they get to enjoy this shield. So, for example, if there's illegal content posted on the internet and Google links to it through its search engine, you can't sue Google for that link. And in the same way, you can't
And
sue Facebook or Twitter.
you explained to me when we spoke that this was 1996, the very start of the internet, and that Congress basically asked the internet companies, why don't you do more political coverage? Why don't you use the internet to keep people abreast of what's going on? And they said, we'd love to, but we're worried about being sued if some of the stuff we put up like is terrorist or encourages horrible things, and we're worried about being sued. And Congress then said to them, okay, guys, I'll tell you what, we'll grant you immunity from those type of lawsuits as long as you promise that you're going to be fair and nonpartisan and objective in your reporting. But now it's completely flipped, and 230 is the thing that impedes the objectivity rather than something that guarantees it. Is that basically correct?
Yeah, that's basically, correct. And, they've got a side of the ledger that they've got to fulfill in order to get this liability shield. And they've decided to completely abandon neutrality and go to really a totalitarian form of censorship that is political, that, in my opinion, has cost lives with the censorship of ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and, meddles in elections. And it's not just elections in the United States. When I was an insider within Google, I saw that they were meddling in other elections around the world, including Ireland.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've spoken about something called machine learning fairness. That is how Google and Amazon and others censor the internet. They identify material to censor. Tell us about that, please.
Yeah, so machine learning fairness was a program that was developed in Stanford around 2014. And then it was ingested into Google, which is next to Stanford in the Bay Area. And I started to notice this system in 2017, but I believe it was started to use in 2016 with the 2016 election. This AI censorship system is essentially critical race theory as applied to machine learning. And the way that this machine
AI
learning
meaning
works,
artificial intelligence.
that's right. And so machine learning is a type of artificial intelligence. The way that it works is that you give it training data, and then it starts to figure out what the patterns are in the training data and then applies that to novel input. So, for example, you could take a bunch of news articles, you can label them as fake news or not fake news, and you feed it into this machine learning fairness, and it creates a classifier that then is able to run on new input and essentially be able to censor things at a flick of snap of my fingers. And
So,
this is
so
what
the example you used with me, was that it would identify certain patterns as racist, and if the machine saw those patterns that it had learned was racist, it would flag those items, and they could be deleted or censored. So that this is essentially the way they teach the machines to censor us.
Yes, that's correct. And they have an army of people, graders, that go through, piles and piles of data. And as they classify the data, they are teaching this machine how to identify hate speech or racism. The amount of classifiers that you can build for each of the different things is enormous. I saw right-wing news commentators at YouTube that were being classified with this thing, and
so in other words, this is how artificial intelligence is applied to censoring us through big tech.
Yes, this is correct, and I believe that something similar is being applied at Twitter and Facebook.
Right. This is absolutely harrowing. This is like being let inside the mind of Big Brother as he watches you. Now, if Section 230 is repealed, would that solve this problem?
I don't believe that it will. And the reason is because these big tech companies are already falling back on their freedom of speech. They're saying, hey, look, we can censor whoever we want. We have the freedom of speech to do that. And there are some people that are suing Facebook
and freedom of speech to stop speech.
Right, that's what they're
claiming.
Freedom
of speech to stop speech. That's great. Thanks, Zach.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.